So, God is my source. Do you believe it?
Yes.
Do you live as if you believe it? My talk today is Lilies of the Field Consciousness. As we're continuing our prosperity series all month, activating the sacred spiritual laws of prosperity. What do I mean by lilies of the field consciousness? Do you remember the Sermon on the Mount that Jesus taught, where it's sometimes called the Beatitudes? And in it, he tells the people, don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy. He says, see how the lilies of the field grow. They don't labor and spin. Not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass in the field, which is here today and tomorrow tossed into the fire as fuel, will she not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? The lilies of the field, the flowers just accept the sun. They accept the gentle rain, the breeze that blows through the field, all as a gift for their full expression of life as beauty. Because that's all they do, right? They just simply know that all is well. They just know that all is well. So developing this knowing that all is well consciousness means that we don't worry. We don't fret. We have faith. We have the faith that knows all is well, no matter what the appearances going on around us might be. It's an absolute faith of knowing that all of our legitimate needs are met. Now, what are legitimate needs? This is a term that Michael Beckwith, who's our author of our book of the month, uses in the book. And he says that we all have legitimate needs, but many experience immature wanting. I thought that was interesting. I played with that a little bit. Legitimate needs versus immature wanting. And he says it's understandable in a materialistically driven society. Well, as I thought about that, I thought, oh gosh, it's like having more toys than you can play with. We're so busy acquiring that we don't have time or take time to enjoy what we've acquired. So I went to my friend, the dictionary, and legitimate means compliance with law. And I really liked that to have a deeper understanding because Michael doesn't go into it very deeply in his book. And so I wanted to see really how he was putting those two words together. And legitimate is compliance with the law. And again, in this case, it is spiritual law that we're in compliance with. Need is something required for a safe, stable, and healthy life. Now think for a minute. If you, or do you, describe your life as safe, stable, and healthy? Would that be enough? I thought that was an interesting connection with legitimate needs. When we develop the faith of the lilies, we know without a doubt that these needs are met. We actually become that vibration of knowing at the subconscious level, because that's where it all has to happen, right? We have our conscious thoughts about what it is we're going to achieve, what we want, how we're going to, and all of that. But until all of that gets embodied deeply into our subconscious and becomes what we live from on a regular basis, until that happens, this is not going to do us a lot of good. Because remember, this is like 5% of our thinking, and this subconscious is like 95% of our thinking. So it's got to get into that bigger percentage of our thinking in order to become who we are, who we be. So when we begin to develop that, the conversations that we have are about that. We don't allow ourselves to get into gossip and into judgment any longer. And if a conversation starts going negative, we turn it around or we step away from it. We become such a vibration of this knowing that all is well, such a beacon that those negative conversations and things just don't even show up in our atmosphere anymore because they're not welcome. We're like a force field of all is well, right? So let's talk about when we are living in this vibration, at this faith level of knowing that all is well. Think back to when you woke up this morning. It wasn't that long ago, maybe. Think back, and when you woke up, was your first thought praying that God would keep your heart beating? That God would keep breathing your lungs? That all of the food you ate yesterday is being digested correctly through your body to the nourishment for bone, muscle? Probably not. Most of us don't think that way, do we? Unless something's got our attention in those areas. And then that might be our prayer. But for most of us, most days when we wake up, we're not worried about working our systems, in other words. We just know, don't we? We know so much that we don't even think about how that's all going to work. Anybody ever had a cold? You knew you were going to get better, right? I mean, it's inconvenient. You might take something to help with the symptoms, but you knew it was going to end. Paper cut, mosquito bite. Inconvenient, uncomfortable at the time, but it healed. I had a paper cut just a few weeks ago. Look at the miracle. You can't see a thing. It's gone. It's completely healed. And I had a mosquito bite. Itchy, but now nothing. Miracle, healing, power of the body. Now, most of us were taught very young, and so we have this subconscious belief. I don't know about you, but my mom, it's like, it'll be all right. Put some stuff on it, forget about it, and it'll be all right. So most of us grew up with a knowledge of what was going to get healed okay and what wasn't, right? But most of us also have a limitation on what that is. A cold? No problem. A cut? Absolutely. Cancer? No way. We have limitations. Don't get me wrong, I am absolutely not criticizing allopathic medicine in any way, shape, or form. I think that it is very powerful. The science is very powerful in assisting us. If you ask a doctor about that, they will tell you that they are giving you sources to help you heal your body. You break your arm. You go to the doctor. The doctor sets the bones and puts on a cast so you don't do anything crazy to allow your body time to heal that bone. Another miracle if you think about it, right? The doctor's not healing your bone. They're just putting it into alignment. If they do surgery and remove tissue or an organ or something, they're giving your body a chance to heal around that now, to reconstruct, to either learn to live without that tissue or to regrow it, right? So doctors, medicine, science, all of that is wonderful because it supports us in the miraculous healing power that we all have inherent to us. Isn't that fabulous? Yes, that's fabulous. Numerous studies about the placebo effect confirm the subconscious mind plays a substantial role in our biology. Have you seen some of those? Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. You can find them all over Harvard studies and all sorts of things that have been done. So that idea of the subconscious mind works for healing as well as for not healing or disease, which is why it's really important what we put into our minds and allow into our subconscious. All of the TV ads for medications, the actors in the white coats telling you what you need. You need this. I mute all of those. I don't want to know. I don't want that information, right? Oh, I might have that. What? So be careful, be aware of what you're allowing into your mind and to be nudged into your subconscious. And we might think, oh, I can ignore that. But your subconscious doesn't ignore it. And anytime something triggers a fear of any sort, that can jump in your subconscious so quick because of the emotion. Because of the emotion. So be aware of what we allow in. Now, as I said, most of us do have lilies of the field consciousness around our bodily functions, unless something's not working. And then it gets our attention, right? We begin to focus on it. And what were we talking about earlier? What we focus on expands, right? So, got to be aware of that too. Knowing all is well is a vibration of faith at the subconscious level. It just becomes who we be. What we need to do is take these areas where we have that and expand on it, grow it, knowing that God is our source of all. And the healing power is within us. The source of all prosperity is already here and in us, no matter what the appearances are. Now, take a moment and ask yourself, what areas in my life do I know absolutely work? Is it just the biological stuff? Is it your love life, your finances, creative expression, health, spirituality? What just works? You don't worry about, you don't think about. In which areas do you have doubt? Which of those areas did you not pick? Where's there doubt? Where do I think someone or something else is my source? Job, paycheck, spouse, government, my doctor, my medications, my minister, my practitioner? Where have I placed my faith? Ernest Holmes is the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living. He's also the author of The Science of Mind philosophy that we teach from. And he says, all problems, regardless of their nature or size, resolve themselves into one basic problem. We have not accepted our full spiritual inheritance. Instead, we accept at face value the undesirable conditions and situations that pour into our experience and try to combat them at their own level and always come out the loser. Now, this is similar to what Einstein said when he said we can't solve our problems with the same thinking that created them. And why Holmes always taught, change your thinking, change your life. It all comes down to us, doesn't it? It is done for us as we believe. In Jesus' beautiful words that we must seek first the kingdom of God within, and then everything else is added. And the whole idea of the kingdom within is all of this that is within us, that is this power that we have, that we were gifted with, that inheritance that Holmes talks about. That is what the kingdom of God within us is. It was implanted in each of us and as we were created. As we were born, we've got that kingdom within us, and discovering that is up to us. It's the hidden gem within each of us. Seeking heaven within, though, sometimes requires we clear away the rubble of toxic thoughts and beliefs that we may have accumulated or collected over our lifetime. And this is how we can start to activate these spiritual laws of prosperity in our lives, is by clearing away the stuff that's blocking us. Now, most of us don't consciously digest our food from mouth to poop, right? We just don't. We just don't. Our subconscious mind, in cooperation with our body's biology, takes care of all of that for us. Imagine for a moment if you had to think about it. You take a bite of food, your taste buds. Then you feel it going down my esophagus. Okay, there it goes. All that stuff's working and it's going, now it's in my belly. Okay, now all of the enzymes and all of the acids and everything are working in there to tear it all apart. Oh, now it's got to go over here. Now it's going to go, now it's going to get, well. And then it starts this long, winding journey through those intestines and all these other things. Can you imagine? We wouldn't get anything done. All we'd be doing is thinking about how to get the digestive system to work. We are truly a walking miracle. Every one of us is truly a walking miracle. So, we can develop that same subconscious vibration of all of our needs being met in ever increasing capacity without consciously trying to make it happen. Doesn't that sound easy? A lot easier to just allow the digestion to happen. A lot easier to just allow abundance to flow, health to flow, love to flow, than all of the worry and the fret and the hard work. Michael Beckwith says in our book of the month, there is an utter yielding, surrendering, and allowing vibration that lets this happen. How many of us are good at yielding, allowing, surrendering? Oh my. Yeah. Those are not really things that are in our DNA, are they? But here's Michael telling us in his prosperity book that the yielding, surrendering, and allowing vibration allows this flow to happen. I invite you to notice right now, what arguments are popping up in your mind against this possibility? What thoughts are you having? What's the chatter arguing about? It's too Pollyannish. It's too woo-woo. She's not living in the real world. Now, Reverend Jill, you don't know my financial situation. I think prosperous thoughts all the time, but have you seen what's happening in the economy in Washington with my retirement accounts? I can't make ends meet. I can't meet anyone. All the good ones are taken. You don't know the people I work with. Any of those popping around out there? Those are the thoughts that are negating the conscious thoughts that we have around what we desire in our lives. Because again, our conscious mind, unfortunately, we can't stay there all the time. We stay there about 5% of the time. The 95% is in this subconscious stuff. These thoughts that have been popping up as I've been talking, some pretty inflammatory things this morning. These things that have been popping up are your resistance to receiving prosperity and stepping into grace. So that's how we become aware of our resistance so that we can heal it. We can break through it. We need to begin to believe that no matter what, all is well always. All is well always. So if you would like to grow in faith and become a vibration of prosperity, I invite you to sign up for our Mindful Monday newsletter that comes out every Monday. That is a recap of the talk and our spiritual principles and practices that are we share with you here in service, and then you can use them throughout the week at home to embody more of the teaching, to break through some of the resistance that may be there. So this week I've got two for you. The first one is clear the rubble. Clear the rubble. Use the practice of sacred journaling to begin to clear the rubble of toxic thoughts. Use the prompt question in your journaling. Why am I ready to dedicate myself to activating these sacred truths in my life? Why am I now ready? Why am I ready? Write down all the arguments that come up against it that tell you you're not ready. Notice what delays and denies your decision, and then continue to journal through that until you get clear and create an affirmation based on your new commitment. And you might need to go back to your notes a few times and review those and stay with your affirmation. Number 2 is God's got this. Once we've cleared the rubble of toxic thoughts that are limiting us, the things that are blocking us, we begin to develop the Lilies consciousness, and we begin to know that all is well. So use that 3-word affirmation, or perhaps God's got this, as your mantra, as your go-to, and just keep going back to it. All is well, all is well. God's got this. Either one or combination of those. But use that to really, as Holmes would say, embody that into your belief system or ingrain it into your subconscious mind. Sacred prosperity laws are not only about money, right? They're about life. It's about a whole life, a balanced life. It is accepting that we live in God's grace all the time. Not just sometimes, all the time. We live in God's grace, and all is well, irrespective of what's happening on the outside. All is well. To close out today, I want to share Edwene Gaines' definition of prosperity. Edwene Gaines is a unity minister who her mission in life is to change the prosperity consciousness of every person on the planet, and she's been delightful in doing that. But her definition is prosperity is a viable, alive, healthy body for this God being to express through. Prosperity is relationships that are joyous, satisfying, intimate, honest, and nurturing, and ones that work all the time. Prosperity is work that we love so much that it's not work, it's play. And prosperity is all of the money we can spend, save, and share. This week, use this definition or create your own definition of prosperity for you. What is prosperity for you? And keep yourself centered in the sacredness of prosperity, love, and grace. And so it is. And now it's your turn. So, did I stir up anything today?
Well, just a quick question. I think there's certain things that, to me, that works. And there's certain things, just like, when awful things happen to children, what then?
Yeah. That's always a question in science of mind that, it's like, why do bad things happen to good people? That, and with children and so forth. And we don't know the inner being, the inner light. We do know that we all come in with full consciousness, that we all come in with the divine spark. We don't know what the agreement was, with the children and what that process was to be. And it's just like all of us. And, why does someone die at 50 or 105? It's, we don't know. It's just part of the journey and part of the unfolding of life through us as individualized expressions of the divine.
I think if I were the parent that's waiting, trying to hold that consciousness
Yeah.
all as well, it would be a little difficult.
Yeah.
And I think for me, what it is we all end up in the same place. And so maybe that you were to be here for a short time to affect everyone around you, and then you've moved on to that next.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can kind of equate it. Works
Yeah.
for me. So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. The impact of all of those situations at any time, it has a ripple effect on that social environment of people. And what was the mission of that child? We don't know. But most things that happen, we at some point can look at and find peace with it and a why with it. The diagnosis that seems so terrible that the person has a transformation because of, things like that. Good comment. Thank you. Lisa.
Well, in response to that question, since you mentioned Edwene Gaines, she also was severely molested as an infant, and she had a lot of issues to deal with that, obviously, and forgiveness, because forgiveness is one of her principles of prosperity. And she said she finally was able to tell herself a different story about it and get out of the victim seat and into an empowerment seat. And her story that she settled on, that resonated with her, was that she suffered through all of that as a child, and that it empowered her to accomplish what she's done as an adult.
Yeah, exactly. Louise Hay is similar to that in her story as well. Anyone else?
So this is not a question, but a comment. And the comment is like, when we go through this cycle of being, and that is, she mentioned earlier, the healing process, that's part of the cycle of life, cycle of being. There comes a time when you're faced with, what to do in a situation or a circumstance. And what comes to mind when it comes to the expansion of possibility, the probability of further success, and especially when it comes to wealth creation, prosperity, and abundance, it's best to just show up, believe, resonate, and demonstrate. And that's kind of the situation I've been finding myself tracking through these last few months. Ultimately, what my better half Lisa had mentioned, the opportunity I have right now. But even then, when we open ourselves up to see people as they are and meet them where they are, you can see where walls and barriers are there when it comes to overall further riches, prosperity, and abundance in the expansion of greater truths, because everything is spiritual. So when we show up, it's not about woo woo, airy fairy, pillowy, loftier things than we can grasp. It's because we're believers in the science of how we live through a spiritual process and a path. And to the outer lay people that are not within this understanding and show up as we do in this conscious community, I love the fact that we can open up the invitation and say, I really like who you are. I see you where you're at. I'd like to invite you as a friend to come and experience this. And then hopefully those barriers and those walls come down, and we can help people prosper in different ways that maybe they haven't thought of or even feel themselves worthy of. So I really love today's message. And one of the things I love about Michael Beckwith, the guy is a real linguist. If you guys haven't had a chance to go see this guy do his thing live in LA, I would encourage it. And that's how I first discovered Center for Spiritual Living. I was at a conference in the beauty industry, and we had a 4-day conference, and we had Sunday off, and then it was to proceed into Mondays. So, excuse me. I decided to see where there was something interesting going on in the spiritual community, and I stumbled across his. We were just really a short drive from it, and it just opened up my whole universe to understand the science of mind and be introduced, in through that with Ernest Holmes. So in a way, it was kind of a friendly thing, but that was going back in the early '90s. So, anyways, thank you.
Wonderful. All right, one more. Anyone else? Diane. Oh, I'll take two more. Yep, we'll take two more.
And I think I feel the same way. I was at Agape a lot in my beginning science of mind studies, and he's just a powerful force. But the reckoning that I have about how much of it I live every day, and how much I choose to have my faith and to know that, just like the lilies I'm taking care of, I seem to want to rework that prosperity thing to death about once a year. So I realize I need to surrender and just let go. And this is a place where I can say that and know that.
Mm-hmm. We used to have a congregant that would always say, "I don't worry about money; it just shows up. It just shows up." I mean, and she just had such an attitude that it just shows up.
My question with that prosperity definition that you put up there for Edwin Gaines, right? And then you mentioned Louise Hay, and she says if you have like 9 things that are going right and one that's going wrong, most people tend to focus on the one that's going wrong, not the 9 that are going right. And even in that prosperity thing, I was questioning, okay, well, which ones are going right in my life? And which, my question is, if there's 4 of them, let's say your financial things are going right and your creative thing is going right, right? Well, how do you, or what are some suggestions to just focus on those and not focus on the things that may not be exactly where you want them to be?
Gratitude comes to mind. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Yep. Just focusing, yeah, every morning your gratitude on those areas. And then while you're in that gratitude frenzy, so to speak, about the things that are going so well, shift your consciousness shift your focus over to what's not, and go, but this is going so well too, really. Everything is unfolding just exactly as it should, perfectly in divine order and divine action. And while I may not see it in this area, I know that the same good that's happening here is happening there too. And it's unfolding in perfect right time. Gratitude in advance, as they say. Well, gratitude in advance is being grateful now because we know all is well and we trust that Spirit's got this. And so we just can be grateful that everything in our life is exactly as it should. And like I say, it may not be to my liking at this moment exactly the way I would like to have it, but I do recognize there's a brilliant mind, much more so than mind, at work that knows exactly what needs to unfold, and it's doing so perfectly. And so then I can let go and be in peace, to be in that flow, to surrender and to allow and to yield to the higher wisdom, the higher power. So let's anchor this. What do you think? Join me in prayer. How good it is that we go within, heaven within us, each one, the place of the divine, the place where the spirit, the life, the God energy is, and recognizing in that God is all, the one power, the one presence, the one life. It is infinite love that loves so much that it creates of itself the only substance that there is in the world. And out of that substance comes all that we are, all that we see, all that is, has been, or will be. And so I know that all of that love and all of that intelligence and wisdom is right here now, present in, through, and as me, as an expression of it. And in, through, and as each one of us gathered here this morning, and whether in the room, online, or listening later. For we all are connected in the oneness and the wholeness of this one consciousness, this one mind. And so knowing that, I speak my word for all of us, each one gathered, knowing, claiming, and accepting the grace of spirit that we live in every single moment, the flow of life, the flow of good, knowing that the universe has us in its loving arms, and that life is unfolding through us exactly as it should, exactly as we believe. And if something's not to our liking, we can change how we think about it. We can redirect the laws of our lives. I know this day that we send our peace over to our brothers and sisters in the Middle East who are in disagreement. We send them our love, we send them our peace, we know harmony, we know a peaceful, quick outcome to this. We bless all that have families and friends there, business associates perhaps, knowing that all are safe. I know for anyone that has anything on their heart today that they are seeking prayer around, as they lift that into the consciousness of this prayer, into the love of this room, that whatever needs to be revealed or healed is revealed and healed in this moment. That spirit flows through them in creative and inspiring ways. And I'm so grateful for this knowing, grateful for this truth, and grateful for the manifestation of this prayer through each and every one of us. As I release it into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is already done, it is already so. And we affirm this truth together by saying, and so it is.